this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com. Welcome back for another Yippee for Yana video. Today we are making a summer birthday card with a sea theme to it. I love the beach waves background stamp from Simon's recent release, and I've been wanting to use it for some cards. So today I'm going to show you how you can use just a portion of this background and extend it to cover the front of an A2 or even a bigger card. So here I have my background stamp all set up in the stamp platform. I have the lid flipped to the rubber stamps side, and I'm going to be stamping just the top portion of this background onto several sheets of white cardstock, and this is Neenah Solar White 80 pound. Now, I don't actually need to stamp the entire background, so I'm positioning my paper so that I will only stamp the waves portion of this background. For my stamping today, I'm going to use Simon's dye inks in delicious summer colors, and I have High Dive, Audrey Blue, and Malibu colors, and these are just the most perfect shades of blue, and they are oh so perfect for summer stamping or ink blending. I have a serious crush on Malibu color these days. I've been using it a ton this summer, and also the High Dive. It's like, yes, please, more of this color. Now, I did mess up the first background that I was making as I adhered my panel crooked onto the card base, so I had to start over. But practice does make better, so here's my second attempt at stamping this background. Now, I wanted to have a gradient to it. The bottom portion of my sea, or of my waves, is going to be the darkest, and the top the lightest. My background on the final card is going to consist of 3 or 4 separate layers of these waves, and I kind of need to do some planning here to make sure that my waves look random enough and not all totally identical. And you can do this because it's a 6x6 background stamp, so you have some wiggle room here. Okay, I've positioned my paper closer to the edge of my tool, but not all the way. There's about 1/4 of an inch gap there. Now, this side of the stamp is going to be the bottom, and this section is going to be the top of one of the 3 sections that will make up my background. So it needs to be a bit lighter, but not the lightest, just slightly lighter than the bottom section. I hope I'm not overcomplicating this. Basically, I'm stamping the same background 3 times to have 3 sections to my background, and each section will have a color gradient from High Dive to Audrey Blue to Malibu. So from darkest to the lightest. Now, this is why I'm being mindful of where the top of this particular section is so that I use the right color of ink. To simplify this, you can totally ink up one section with High Dive, one section with Audrey Blue, and the last section with Malibu. I simply wanted to have a gradual color transition and not have harsh lines between the colors. So here I'm using my individual ink pads as ombre inks in a way, and I'm doing the ink pad dance here where I ink the stamp with the lightest ink, next add the darker ink to the portion of the stamp, and then come back with a lighter ink again and sort of blend it all together. I've stamped my first panel, and I'm going to stamp the second one. Now this time I placed my paper further from the edge of my tool. It's about 1.5 inches further, and I'm also going to change up where the top and bottom is on my stamp to add some variety to my waves. So this is going to be the bottom, and this is going to be the top now. I'm inking up the top portion with the lightest Malibu color and using my medium color Audrey Blue for the bottom portion. Again, I'm coming in with the Malibu again to blend these 2 colors together. Now, you do get a bit of an ink transfer this way, but these colors are so very similar, it doesn't really affect the ink pads much. I'm going to repeat this one more time to get a darker, more saturated color. So here I have my first 2 panels ready, and I'm going to place them on my desk just like so that I don't forget where the top and where the bottom is on each of the panels. I'm stamping my final background, and this time I place my cardstock somewhat centered in regards to the background stamp, and I'm stamping the entire panel using Malibu. And here again, the top is the top and the bottom is the bottom. So here are all 3 of them in correct order and orientation, and now I'm going to use my scissors and cut along the wave lines to merge all of these panels together, and you'll see how easily this background comes to life. You can actually add more layers if you like. You can use foam adhesive to pop some of these up to have a dimensional background if you want. At first, I wanted to make an A2 card, But later, seeing how I had a ton of background space, I decided to make a taller card. Now, I'm always inspired by Christina Warner and how she makes these super fun and tall cards, and I decided to give them a try. So I folded my paper to 4¼ wide by 8½ inches tall, and I will trim it later to be shorter. I started adding my stamped background from the top down, and I first added the one stamped in Malibu. Next, I added a background stamped in Malibu and Audrey Blue. And finally, I added one stamped in Audrey Blue and High Dive. I took this to my paper trimmer and cut that excess white paper off. My card ended up being 4¼ wide by 7¾ inches tall. Next, I'm going to stamp some critters. I want this to be a sea birthday kind of party card. So I'm stamping a crab, a starfish, and a fish from Under the Sea Animals stamp set. I'm using my Intense Black ink as I will be coloring these with Copics, and I'm stamping 2 of each. I also need a sentiment for this, and I'm going to white heat emboss Party from the Cassie Zelski's Birthday Palooza stamp set. I want to add some emboss resist and some ink blending for a pop of color. I've heat set it, and now I'm using Sunshine for the bottom part of this party. And Hollyhock, and both of these are dye inks from Simon Says Stamp, so I'm using Hollyhock for the top portion of the party. And I just love how these 2 colors blend one into another for a bright spot of color. And did you guys notice I'm like totally into ink blending these days? I don't know why I resisted this technique for such a long time. It's fantastic, you know? To color my critters, I'm using red and yellow markers. I'm starting with R39, and next using R24, and finally R22 as my lightest color. And I'm doing just simple Copic marker coloring. I will add some white pen details to these later once the ink is dry. Now for my yellow colors, I'm using Y35, Y15, and Y11 colors. And again, it's just super simple coloring. I used coordinating dies and cut all of these out, including the word party. And I just love that there are dies for that. And I'm now ready to assemble everything together. I'm starting by adhering the party somewhat in the center, a bit closer to the top of my background. And by the way, this is the first time ever that I'm making a non-standard card size. I have no idea what's up with that. I'm so stuck on making everything the standard size that it never even occurred to me to try and step outside the box and try a non-standard size for a change. Are you guys like that? Or is it just me being crazy? Tell me. Okay, remember how I said I messed up my first background? I had this leftover piece and I decided to use it to add another layer to my card. So I adhered it at the bottom. Had I not trimmed my card base, I would have extended my background even further, and I probably would have had an 8½ inch tall card base. Maybe I'll try that next time. Okay, I stamped It's Your Birthday sentiment and I foam mounted that onto the card. And now I'm just adding some white pen details to my sea critters. I'm going to use foam adhesive squares and tuck my critters in between the waves and also pop them up. And I'm sorry that my head and my hair is getting in the way a little bit here. You can add more critters if you want to. There are other animals in this Under the Sea Animals stamp set, and at some point I wanted to add additional images to this card, but I really wanted to stick to the red, yellow, and blue color combo, and I didn't feel like adding another critter, colored in green or something. And yes, I could have added a turtle colored in red, but I think that would have looked a little bit weird. Okay, finally, I used my Tonic Studios shimmer pen and I coated my entire background with this shimmer. You can skip this step, but I think that it adds really nice touch to the waves background. So tell me guys, do you make non-standard size cards? Or better yet, what is your favorite card size to make? Whichever size it is, I hope you will give this idea a try. If you do make a card inspired by this video, we'd love it if you shared your project online and tagged us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet done so. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. I will see you next time. Bye!